Hello again, everyone. This is a risotto video. It's going to kind of give you the basics on how to cook risotto. I certainly don't claim to be an expert, and I'm not going to say that I'm cooking this authentically, but I guarantee that it's cheap and it's good. I feel that a lot of people kind of stay away from risotto because they think it's going to be too hard or that they have to watch over it all the time, but that's not true. Risotto is actually fairly simple, and you'll see that after the first time you cook it. It's also very cheap. It's either a side dish or a meal. You can do the whole thing for about under $10, and it's something that people don't really eat very often, so it's really kind of a treat when people do get it. Right now I have my butter melting over medium-high heat. The thing you have to know about risotto is that it's about 3 times as much liquid as it is rice. So I'm using about 1.5 cups of rice and 3.5 cups of liquid. The liquid, you can use water, broth, or stock. Stock is obviously going to give you the most flavor, and then down from there. If really your concern is money, you can go with a bouillon, which is really cheap, or you can do like half stock, half water, and that'll give you at least some flavor. You're going to want to heat up your liquid, and then you're going to want to leave it over low heat on your stove because you're going to want to add the liquid that's already hot. As far as the rice goes, I like using a boreal rice the best. However, you can use any short grain rice. But make sure you stay away from the long grain rice because that doesn't have the starch that you need to develop and create the creaminess that you get with the risotto. So now I'm just going to add my onions to my butter, and at this point you could also add garlic or any other spices that you would want in it. I don't recommend that you salt and pepper it now. I wait till the very end actually to do that. I just think it works better with the cooking process. So you're going to let these cook actually for about 3 minutes or so until they get, cooked down or clearer. And then at that point, you're actually going to add your rice to it, and you're going to let your rice toast up for about 7 minutes. So I'm just going to speed along the process and put that in there now. Okay, so once your rice has been toasting, at this point you're going to add your alcohol if you want to use it. And now remember, if you don't drink alcohol, the alcohol part will burn off and you'll just be left with the flavor, so you probably do want to use it. And you can use wine or beer, but if you're going to use beer, make sure you don't use a dark beer. And so we add our alcohol and we give it a stir. Anytime you add liquid to risotto, you're going to give it a stir to help it develop those starches. And then we're going to let it sit for a little while and let the rice absorb the alcohol. And it's still over medium-high heat at this point. You do want to come back every couple of minutes and just check on it and maybe give it a stir again. And then just to speed along the process here, we're going to pretend that this alcohol has already been absorbed. So at this point, you're going to add about 1 cup of your liquid, so maybe 2 ladlefuls. And then because we added liquid, we're going to stir. This is what develops the starches in the risotto, slowly cooking it with the liquid and then stirring every time. So if we stir this a little, you don't have to become obsessive over your stirring. You don't have to stand here and stare at it and constantly stir it. Stir it when you first add your liquid. Go do something, either cook more of your meal or clean your kitchen if you're not cooking anything else. And then, check on it a little bit and, maybe give it another stir. It'll be probably at least about 5 minutes every time to wait for the liquid to absorb. Once the liquid has been absorbed, you're going to add 1/2 cup of liquid or about a ladleful and stir again and come back and watch it. And you're going to keep doing that until all of your liquid is gone. Once you start adding your liquid, you want to turn it down to more of a medium or medium-low heat just so it stays on a simmer. And that's about it. It'll take about 30 minutes probably from start to finish. A lot of the liquid has been added now, so you can see that the creaminess is really starting to develop here in the risotto. Okay, so now it's been about 30 minutes and all the liquid has been added, so you're going to want to taste it at this point, and make sure that it's about al dente, which this is. If it's still kind of crunchy, feel free to add a little bit more liquid at that time and let it cook a little bit longer. At this point, you can add cheese if you're going to use it. You don't have to because it's already creamy, but this gives you a good flavor. You're also going to add your salt and pepper at this point. And just do this to taste. If you use something like a broth that was salty, be careful of the salt. You might not really need to add any. You can also add an extra pat of butter if you want to add a little more creaminess. And then for this one, I cooked up some zucchini, red pepper, and tomato in garlic. And so now I'm just going to add that in as well. And like I said before, you can make this as a side dish to pair with your favorite meat, or you can make it a main meal. You can even add chicken to it if you want. If you are going to make it your main meal though, I would make about 1.5 times the recipe for 4 people just to make sure there's enough, although it is quite filling. I also wanted to mention that I use chicken stock, but really you can use any flavor that you want. If you're a vegetarian, you can use vegetable. The main thing I would say is kind of pair the flavor of your stock with whatever you're going to eat it with. So if you're going to eat it with beef, you might want to use beef stock just to have that little heavier of a flavor in it to go with it. So at this point, we're just going to plate it here. Get it all out of the pan. And you can still see the creaminess. The best time to serve the risotto is a couple minutes after it's done. After a while it might congeal a little, and while the flavor will still be there, the texture isn't going to be as creamy as it might have been. So I hope now that you are able to go make some risotto. The first time, you might have to get used to the stirring and watching it, but after that, it'll become old hat for you and you'll be able to cook risotto all the time. So I hope you enjoy.